Hi, I'm Carol Allen with Love is in the Stars. And today I wanted to talk uh, about the very sad developments between JLo and her husband, Ben Affleck. Now, I haven't written about them or talked about them. I've actually been rooting for them as someone who married an old boyfriend and really believes in lost loves reuniting and that it can be right guy, wrong time. I was very hopeful that they would work, you know, but I also was a little doubtful because it's very, very hard when two mega, mega, mega celebrities get together. It's very hard when just one person in a couple has an intense career. But when two people do, it's really asking too much of a union. You know, a relationship is two people, but it's three things. It's person A and who are they, and person B and who are they. But then it's almost like a third entity, it's called, that comes together between them. That's the relationship itself. And the relationship has needs. Both people have needs, but the relationship does too. But we're getting off track. I want to talk about a topic that I think is super duper important that not enough people consider when deciding who they should marry. And then it's very often the thing that makes the relationship fall apart and makes the relationship doomed from the start, that could have been avoided had they only known and had clarity and discussed this and then determined could they really accept this from the get-go. Because who knows what's really going on with JLo and Ben. I have no idea. You have no idea. There's just what's rumored and what we're all hearing. And as someone who lives in Los Angeles and who knows people that have worked with her and knows people that know him, and I live in a neighborhood where literally he and Matt wrote Good Will Hunting, and where Project Greenlight was filmed on my street. I'm not kidding you. And they apparently went knocking door to door shortly after my husband and I moved in. And for whatever reason, we weren't home that day, and I missed a house call from Ben Affleck. How upsetting is that? Okay. But anyway, back to my point. So, the thing that is so, so, so important that I want to impart to all of you that I'm so grateful to have learned years ago about relationships is a little thing called terms. Now, terms are the non negotiable, non changeable requirements we all have for being in a relationship. And if we're in a relationship with someone who doesn't accept our terms and who isn't happy with our terms and who can't support our terms, that relationship is doomed. And this, from the rumors anyway, is what's happening with JLo and Ben. So, terms, what the heck are they? Here's the problem with terms. Terms, so many people don't know their own terms. So they'll lie about their terms. The other thing about this is studies have shown that humans are very, very bad at predicting how they're going to feel about something in the future. We're terrible at knowing how we're going to feel. We think, oh, I couldn't do that thing. It won't work for me. And then we find out, oops, on second thought, I like it. Or we think, oh, I have to have things this way or I won't be happy. And then we find that we are, right? Or we think, oh, that doesn't matter. I'll be okay with that. And then we're not okay with that, right? So apparently, Ben said, he's historically said many, many times, he doesn't like fame. He likes the work he does. He likes sharing stories. He likes directing movies. He likes acting, but he hates being famous. And his chart, astrologically, whether you look in the Vedic system or the Western system, is very, very private. Every planet is on the introverted side of the chart. He's got Saturn in the 12th house. This makes a person like their privacy, need a lot of time alone. He also has a combination of the sun uh, being on the cusp in the Western system, in the Vedic system, rather, where this makes a man very, very sensitive. It's also with one of the eclipse points, and this makes a man very, very sensitive. So all the attention, all the lack of anonymity, people coming up to them all the time. That would make him miserable, right? So who does he marry? Oh, gee, the most famous person in the world. And what does she love? The limelight. What does she love? Attention. What does she love? Like inviting people into her private life, her private world. So she's written about them. She's posted wedding photos the night they eloped in Vegas, which also touched me because my husband and I eloped in Vegas and then had a wedding with friends later, just like they did. Oh, uh, and then she made this documentary. I'm sure you've heard, called The Greatest Love Story Never Told, but she told it. And she told it pretty quickly and apparently spent $20 million of her own money. And Ben, apparently, gave her a beautiful book of all their letters and communication back and forth. And I didn't watch the documentary, but one of my friends told me this. And it was so thoughtful and so well done and hardbound and leather and, gave her this gorgeous, gorgeous memento of their reunion. And without asking him, supposedly, she puts this in the documentary and she gives this. Now, I don't know. We don't know. The friend that told me doesn't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe she asked, right? Maybe he was all for it. Maybe he was trying to be supportive. So let's go back to the thing you need to know, which is terms. Okay. Because people don't know their terms, you have to get to know them slowly over time. You have to date them for a while. I would have recommended JLo and Ben not get married so quickly, right? Not rush in, that they really see once the high of reuniting kind of calms down, once the drugs we're all on, when we have hot, amazing sex with somebody again for the first time, or for the first time in 20 years, or however long it's been, they were on this chemical cocktail in their minds. And it would have been good for them to take some time because they didn't really clearly, obviously, know each other's terms. And the thing about, I hate to say it, ladies, the thing about men and the thing about a man like a Ben Affleck is every man wants to feel like the king in his castle, right? Every man wants to feel like he's living a life on his terms. Now, women need this too, and a lot of us are strong-willed and hard-headed. My husband can tell you all about it. It's really, really, really ingrained into men. It's a testosterone thing. It's physical. It's not just cultural. It's not just tradition. It's men. And if a man feels that he is not the king in his castle, that his terms are not honored, that his feelings don't come first, that man can't stay. That man can't stay. So the rumor is that he's the one that left. He moved out of their $60 million mansion. He's the one that's not happy. And supposedly she's given him ultimatums, which is supposedly what happened before. And ladies, you can never give a man an ultimatum because every man's term, every man is, I'm the king of myself. I don't work for you. You're not the boss of me. They will even say those words, right? Dialogue box, you're not the boss of me. So that is a term every man comes with. And astrologically, they have a little problem with something called assertive pressure. So I do think the rumors are true. I do think JLo was trying to push her terms onto him. And I apologize. I don't know them. They haven't consulted with me. It's none of my business. I just think it's likely true because JLo has far more assertive pressure than Ben. She is a more assertive, aggressive person. It's part of why she's the amazing success that she is. It's part of why she's achieved all that she achieved, right? It's just the happiest couples have equal pressure. And this is determined through a combination of looking at the relationship of Mars to Venus and the moon and the rising sign and looking at it in 3 charts. And it's complicated. So I'll spare you the astrology lesson today. But just know assertive pressure is super important. And when it's way off between a couple, the person with far more will often run roughshod over the other person. and the other person will feel voiceless and like their point of view doesn't matter, and like they have to always accommodate and give in and accommodate and compromise. And then one day they wake up and they go, I can't do this anymore. And so 90% of the time, this is according to a lot of relationship research, when there is a lion and a mouse in a relationship, the mouse leaves and the lion is stunned. Now, Ben Affleck is no mouse. I just think up against her and her personal power and her strength and her willfulness, I think he kind of was. So I think he left and I think she's stunned. And I feel badly for them. And I don't know if they can figure it out. It's very hard when the assertive pressure is like this. But if I was coaching her, I would tell her, find out what he requires and then decide if you can provide it. Decide if it works with your terms. Now, here's what's tricky. Terms are often not things we expect. Terms are not things like, you have to be home with me a certain amount of the year, or you have to, be respectful in front of my friends. It's that stuff we all would expect. But terms can also be things like, I'm grumpy in the morning and you can't complain about it. I'm kind of more introverted than extroverted, so I don't want to stay at the party long. Or I am more interested in my family than in doing press. So, so terms are complicated and you have to really know somebody over time. So when it's something, here's how to know it's a term. When it's something you've asked that it change, that you've talked about multiple times, that you've communicated you're not comfortable with, and they keep doing it, they keep trotting it out, that's a term. And then instead of continuing to negotiate and argue or, plead your case with the other person, it's now on you to ask yourself, okay, this is the thing they do. This is the thing that they continue to do in spite of me saying it doesn't work for me. So now it's on me. Can I be with this person despite them being grumpy in the morning or not wanting to stay long at parties or not putting their dishes away or whatever it is, right? Living with other people is tricky. Nobody does everything the way we want them to, and nobody's exactly like us. And this is why so many of us struggle in relationships. And, if your most core terms are honored, if you find, because there's terms, but then there's preferences. Preferences are very different from terms. Preferences are just, this is what I wish you would do. This is how I would be happier. That's different than if I don't get to be this way, or if I don't get to express myself this way, or if I don't get to behave this way, I can't be with you, right? That's a term. So yeah, so don't get terms and preferences confused. It's kind of like if you're single and you're seeking someone, uh, absolute essentials you require in a relationship are different than preferences. Anyway, so JLo and Ben, if you're listening, please have a sit down with your therapist that I heard you're working with. Good job. And talk about terms. Talk about like, can you do publicity or not, Ben? Can you be with somebody who's always on, who's always interacting, who's always posting? And if not, then you should run like like the man that you are. And JLo, can you turn it down? Can you turn it off? Can you get your needs met and be who you want to be? And I hope you figure it out. I wish them both well. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you're clear on terms and preferences. And I hope you find lasting love with somebody you easily agree with, who has equal assertive pressure. If you would like to determine if someone has healthy assertive pressure for you, you can go to my link below. It's all in a compatibility report called the Right Man Report. It's absolutely incredible. And you can find all of that and more at loveisinthestars.com. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.